Sometimes when you compromise who you are to appease others, you slowly feel yourself begin to die inside. It's been an amazing journey. Myself, I'm all the way up. All the way up. I'm all the way up. This is my testimony. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. You don't take a chance, you ain't had a chance. You making a plan to lose. Don't need a security blanket or safety harness or band to smooth. Took in advance and paid it back and made an advance and moved. I know how to stand and greet a man whenever he walk in the room. Unlimited bands, come on command, ain't changing my attitude. Listen, you know that I love you forever, could never be mad at you. You ain't wanna win as bad as I want you to win. I had the scoop. Tan and bean inside the bag, I bought you the blast and shoot. King B, I bought you a chain, they making it rain on you. I know that you gotta go home when they talked about you, I prayed for you. I had my heart scarred by the woman that I used to call my mama. Know if I fuck with you, I'm going to war with God behind you. I been into you, on whom I was talking about on fly again. My wing got bruised, healing my wounds, I done got fly again. Now all you hoes, a thing of the past, I can supply 10. Met you ton lows, coming in from the island. That bitch you wish she flaw as hell, focus on ass shots. The bitch I'm with the cartel, focus on stash spots. A lot of diamonds, I'm about diving, bird when a chain glisten. Chicago jail, went straight to the cell with all of the gang members. Now my T off Green Street, she one of them gang members. Mama Duck, I love you to death, you one of them gang members. You know when you're a real nigga, you ain't gonna never really get the respect you deserve out here. But for y'all, I rock a lot of pretty fellas. Said it real bad with a cartel swag, pants hanging on my ass, and I know you see me watching. I'm not worried about your man, tell your dude back, shorty bag, ass back. Hold up, can I take you shopping? Said it real bad with a cartel swag, pants hanging on my ass, and I know you see me watching. Said it real bad with a cartel swag, tell your dude back, and I know you see me watching. You staring at me, but you afraid to be for me, making your parents happy. Made them believe, major league, check my batting average. I work my way to bricks from crumbs, you know that ain't average. I took the diamonds out of my teeth, but my earrings is dancing. I cut off my hoes, I got a new thing, and that bitch make me happy. And I know she see me watching. Off chilling on the carpet, finished prayer, went to talking. Funny how we do the same things, I was just saying the same thing. Heard about how your last boyfriend did you, but he was a buster. You was in the athletes back then, you needed a hustle. I was fat as hell, I got a shape, I'm flexing my muscle. I'm the world's sexiest gangster that won't ever change. I'm up a rank, I'm a sex symbol, I can't be restrained. Only the generals gon' understand. I suffer from King's disease. Everybody got a problem with me just being me. Trying to find out when the line cared about the opinion of she. I want to welcome y'all to the Only the Generals going to Stanford. Those of y'all that don't know me, fun fact about Kevin Gates, I talk to myself. I do. All geniuses talk to themselves. Said it real bad with a cartel swag, pants hanging on my ass, and I know you see me watching. I ain't worried about your man, tell your dude back, shorty bad, ass bad. Baby, can I take you shopping? I say I'm tatted real bad with a cartel swag, pants hanging on my ass, and I know you see me watching. Tatted real bad with a cartel swag, tell your dude back, and I know you see me watching. I don't know why I got this fetish for. I like the pleasure holes in the fitting room of designer stores. True indeed. In public while we shopping, I'ma touch all on your body, Lord. Won't you, I can't hide it. You with me, don't need nobody, God. Took you in the dressing room, told you get on your knees, put your hands behind your back. I spit in your mouth and put that dick dead in your face, yeah. I stick your tongue out while I pull your hair. Hey, can I take you shopping? You know where I get this fetish for. The pleasure horse in the fitting room of the designer stores. True indeed. I bust your ass in sex, you remember that? True indeed. I know you see me watching.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, as always, Miguel Magallon. And as always, President, Founder, CEO of Magallon Entertainment. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast. Tonight, I talk about my two big cannons. The two big new swing trays that I'm actively putting into effect as of tonight. Tomorrow morning when the New York Stock Exchange, my new swing trades will already be in effect. Tonight, I'm going to talk about what those 2 swing trades are, how I'm playing them, why I'm playing them, and what I'm thinking behind each of these investments. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys already know what to do. When I'm about to drop some knowledge, when I'm about to teach you some shit, when I'm about to break down some shit piece by piece, brick by brick, layer by layer, you guys already know what to do on this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, get the pen in the pad, get the pen in the pad, get the pen in the motherfucking pad. And let us begin. So, I want to start off this podcast, and I want to take about 5 minutes. I know, 5 minutes, but listen to me for a second. Listen to me. I only need 5 minutes to do this, and it's very important. I think it's very important for me to do this right now, before we even get into the swing trading shit. I want to take a moment and I want to apologize to everybody. Alright, I'm serious. I want to take a moment to apologize real quick. Because I know last night when I came out with my clip, I'm not holding back anymore. I know some of you got a little offended. Some of you took it the wrong way. Some of you thought that I was calling you a bitch, you know. And a lot of people were kind of taken back just a little bit last night by the ass whooping that I gave everyone. And rightfully so, by the way. I don't think I was wrong for doing it. I stand by most of the things I said last night. I do think a lot of you guys keep telling me you're long-term investors, but then the moment the stock goes down 5%, you act like a short-term bitch. I think a lot of you guys are continuing to lose sight of what really matters and about this journey, okay? Not a quick side hustle, not a fucking get-rich-quick scheme, but this journey, this long-term journey that all of us are on towards financial independence and financial freedom, a land where we do what the fuck we want, when the fuck we want, because we write our own fucking paychecks. I think a lot of you guys just, over the last couple of weeks and months have slowly but surely started to lose your way, or starting to lose focus, or starting to lose your commitment, and starting to, slack off on discipline and shit like that. And I think last night was an ass whooping that a lot of subscribers across the country and around the world, honestly, you guys needed. And I think a lot of you guys reacted positively to last night's podcast. But, I do want to apologize to everyone that may have taken it the wrong way, who are loyal, subscribers, who are loyal, investors, dedicated investors, committed investors, right? But with that being said, last night's clip, a little violence, a little bit of an ass whooping. I think it was appropriate. I think it was just what the doctor ordered. And I think a lot of you guys really needed that shit. It really helped jumpstart your week and helps, rejuvenate your mentality, so to speak, right? Get you, refocused, recalibrated, redialed in, right? So for everyone who enjoyed last night's clip, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. And I'm glad it really just, energized you again. And, you know what I mean? Put things back into perspective for you. But, like I said, sometimes that's what's needed. Sometimes people just need a rude awakening. Sometimes people need to remember why they're here. And sometimes people need to be, subscribers need to get reminded of what we're doing here at Magallon Entertainment. This is long-term personal wealth, long-term generational wealth. And we're thinking about the next 5 to 10 years, not the next 5 to 10 days. And so if you guys understand what I'm trying to do here on this podcast, congratulations. I hope to have you guys as subscribers for many years to come, or however long I do this podcast for. I've said it once, I've said it twice, and I'll continue to say it again. I'm not here to be the next Joe Rogan. I'm not here to be the next professional YouTuber or podcaster or any of that shit. I'm just here on my path towards $100 million. And once I get to the $100 million mark, whether it's in 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, however long it ends up taking me, once I get to that 100 mil mark, I'm leaving. I'm basically going to put most of my money and either leave it in things like Tesla and Bitcoin, or I'm going to put it into a bunch of mutual funds where they can compound at 10 to 20% a year for the rest of my life and not really have to worry about, what's going on in the economy or the broader markets anymore. And I can just enjoy my life doing other things that also make me happy. Whether that's hanging out with my kids or hanging out with my grandkids one day, or, you know what I mean, going here, going there, seeing different parts of the world, or, you know what I mean, saying fuck it and just spend the rest of my days on the playas of Puerto Rico, one hand on the margarita, one hand on the fat ass nalgas, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know what I mean? So for however long I end up doing this podcast for, you know, I hope a lot of you guys ride with me to the fucking end. And I know a lot of you guys are some ride or die soldiers. I know a lot of you guys are extremely loyal subscribers. I know a lot of you guys love this podcast. I know a lot of you guys love what I'm doing on this podcast. And I appreciate the love, the support, the loyalty. And I appreciate everyone's prayers and wishes and, you know, everyone's just enthusiasm for this podcast that I started 2 years ago. And I appreciate all of that. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, you know, for... Thank you to everyone who's been reaching out to me, making sure I'm okay, making sure I had a good birthday. Thank you to all the VIPs, and, you know, thank you to all the loyal subscribers, like I said, across the country and around the world who really love this podcast. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin, and let us talk about the two biggest swing trades that the motherfucking general is putting on the table as soon as the stock market opens tomorrow fucking morning.
Yeah. I'm out here for real, Dick. You heard me? Audible. Pronto. I got it coming in pronto. Stuff in the check in the console. Then throw the Lambo in launch mode. Release the things that'll keep me back. Cut off my hoe, now I'm free at last. Want me to be fake, can't agree with that. Having my way, now I'm free at last. Yeah. Having my way, now I'm free at last. Pronto, I got them coming in pronto. Stuff in the check in the console. Then throw the Lambo in launch mode. I look at everybody around me different. I know agendas always probably hidden. Bread runner sticking to the mission. Depression to dissipate while doing fitness. I come from cooked dough over crack stoves, clutching fishing poles in the kitchen. Open doors come from dealing lows, trying to hit the road in the Bentley. I'm making progress. I cannot digress. Dicking your bitch difficult for the digest. My heart done got colder, but I done got stronger. Woo! Shout out to Pyrex. She just showed me a twin sister. I'm a general. I wanna try that. Dior shopping, Bryson popping, stopping, walking and body. Go in the studio, make me a movie. Pressure applied it. Lawn service cutting grass, 100-yard dash, thumbing through a bag, pay a law 10 kilograms, saying let up to my fans, catch me if you can, transform that to a half a man, Afghanistan, you wouldn't understand how I'm really living, I had it bad when I went to prison, Chris Brown diamonds won't stop shining, choreograph dance on me when they glisten, I'm on the grind and I crunch it out, I'm bout slinging iron and I punch it out, get out of line, I'ma punch it out, pronto, I got it coming in pronto. Stuff in the check in the console. Then throw the Lambo in launch mode. Release the things that'll keep me back. Cut off my hoe, now I'm free at last. Want me to be fake, can't agree with that. Having my way, now I'm free at last. Yeah. Having my way, now I'm free at last. Having my way, now I'm free at last. Pronto. I got them coming in pronto. Stuff in the check in the console. Then throw the Lambo in launch mode. Have you ever had to steal and rob? Illegal firearms in a uniform, distributing while you work a job. Still feeling stupid, bumming for a ride. Catching a bus for it. Still unemployed, got this out the mud for it. Talk about a love story. This make you really want to pray for a love, don't you? This a new situation. Off-white socks come by the cases. Lemon pepper sushi, I'm kicking flavor. Elongated tees, out of big fragrance. Smell good, that's the sin of a gangster. Pedicure, manicure, I get tailored. Peak of eloquence, don't gotta say it. Not human, baby, I am amazing. Foreign bro, I treat her like my strap. Grip her hard, throw the clip in her back. This ain't no carbon copy. Pardon the body, don't embody the heart of Bryson. I'm where the reaper dwell. Pursuit of perfection, this ain't been no easy trail. I'm a young millionaire on a Seattle island surrounded by billionaires. Skill level competition. I met a chick who a big walking contradiction. Met me a yoga coach and she a vegan. Say she ate meat but she eating my penis. She sucking on me and she freaking, she squirting. If we have a threesome, I'm purchasing purses. Louis Chanel to Hermes or the Birkin. I piss off a man and I done it on purpose. Pronto, I got it coming in pronto. Stuff in the check in the console. Then throw the Lambo in launch mode. Release the things that'll keep me back. Cut off my hoe, now I'm free at last. Want me to be fake, can't agree with that. Having my way, now I'm free at last. Yeah, having my way, now I'm relax. Having my way now, I'm relax. Pronto, I got them coming in pronto. Stuffing a chick in the console. Then throw the Lambo in launch mode.
Ladies and gentlemen, the general is finally fucking free. Magallon Entertainment! Ladies and gentlemen, let us get into this now. The double barrel shotgun double swing trade play is none other than Dollar General and Dollar Tree. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been thinking about this for a while. They've already been swing trades, so these aren't necessarily new swing trades, but I'm adding new money to it, and I'm doing it in new ways. Let me say that again. I'm adding new money to it, and I'm doing it in new ways. So, recap on Dollar General. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not a fucking secret. I still believe that the average American in this country, the average American who was already living paycheck to paycheck before the pandemic, the average American who was living paycheck to paycheck when gas was $3 and food at Walmart used to actually be cheap once upon a time, the average American who was struggling just to pay their bills on time before all of this started, the average American who was already broke as fuck before any of this COVID shit started, that American is hurting like a motherfucker right now. That American is experiencing extreme economic financial pain. That American is dealing with the highest inflation our country's had in 40 years. And again, I continue to say this, but I think we're still in wave 3 of the recession. I think we're about to go into wave 4 of the recession, which will take place August, September, October. That is when you will start to see a massive upticking in actual pre-scheduled, pre-announced layoff actually start to take hold and start to take effect. We'll see what the final number of layoffs end up actually becoming. Right now, it looks like just between August through October, we're scheduled to have over 75,000 layoffs. I wouldn't be surprised to see that number well north of 100,000 when it actually happens. Again, most of these companies will not be pre-announcing these layoffs. A lot of these companies are just going to execute a layoff, and they're just going to call you into their office and let you know that they're cutting back your hours or just terminating your entire position entirely. Amazon and Walmart continue to announce that they're going to lead the way. Tesla has already thrown their hat into the arena and said they're going to lay off a couple thousand engineers. It looks like many other companies in the automotive industry are also starting to lay off a lot of workers. I continue to see and hear a lot of people telling me that their hours are continuously getting cut back at work more and more, especially when it comes into like luxury and services industry. I think some of the industries are going to get impacted greatly and relentlessly during this economic downturn are going to be places like restaurants. It's going to be places like cruise lines. It's going to be places like resorts. It's going to be places that, you know, for the most part, aren't necessarily where rich people go to, but it's where the middle class people go to, right? And so I think names like a Denny's, names like IHOP, names like Applebee's are probably going to experience the most pain, because one of the things that I continuously say, and it's still true, is that rich people aren't going to feel this recession the same way poor people do. Poor people are always going to experience economic downturn and economic, pain much deeper than rich people will. Rich people are still going to go out to eat at all their fancy ass dinners with their fancy red wine and all their fancy ass steak, right? Rich people are going to continue to do what rich people want to fucking do. That's kind of one of the luxuries of being rich. But not every restaurant caters towards poor people. Not every hotel caters towards, rich people. Not every restaurant caters to rich people. Not every restaurant caters to, the millionaires and billionaires. So again, I think the restaurants that will get deeply impacted are going to be the ones that, for the most part, target lower income families, lower income communities, and the middle class and lower middle class. I think if you're a hotel or a casino or a resort or a luxury place, if you're targeting the rich and the mega rich, I think you're going to be fine because they're going to continue to have money to spend. But I think if you're a hotel, a casino, or a resort, or anything in the travel related industry, and you're targeting the middle class, the lower middle class, and potentially the low income bracket, I think you're going to continue to see a lot of people just dial back spending, dial back spending, dial back spending as their hours continue to get cut back at work, cut back at work, cut back at work, and you continue to see a lot of layoffs happen nationwide. So because of all of this, and I've been speaking about it for weeks and weeks and months, for those of you guys who've been listening to the podcast and listen to every clip that I put out, you guys know exactly how I feel about the average American, and you know exactly how I feel about the American economy right now. But with all that being said, two of the names that I think stand to benefit the most from this entire economic downturn, whether you want to call it a recession, a depression, or just a softening and a cool down, regardless of however the fuck you want to categorize it, whether you agree, and this might just be semantics, but whether you agree with the term recession or not, or just a slowdown, or just a softening, whatever fucking word you want to use that makes you feel better, at the end of the day, we can all agree that poor people are going to feel this shit the most, right? Poor people are going to feel this shit the most, right? And I think there's a lot of analysts on Wall Street that completely feel the same way. Just real quick, listen to my man Josh right here on Wall Street. He's one of my favorite analysts on the entire stock market, and he talked about this as well. Whether you think it's a recession or you don't think it's a recession, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, the people who do think it's a recession are the people who are going to get impacted the most by inflation, by higher interest rates, and by economic downturns and economic slowdowns. Take a listen.
But I've made this point on the show. I've been making it for a while. It doesn't matter if we're in a recession or a soft landing, because in the minds of the consumer, and the consumer is 70% of the economy, it already feels like a recession. It already feels like a recession. So it's almost like semantics at this point. We are in a slowdown. It feels horrible. The people who can least afford to be in an environment like this are obviously the people at the lower end of the income scale.
100%, right? So with that being said, which two companies have I been saying over and over again stand to benefit from this? I talked about this on Recession Proof Stocks 1 and Recession Proof Stocks Part 2, and I'll hit at it again because what I'm doing tonight is announcing that tomorrow morning when the New York Stock Exchange opens, I'm adding new money and I'm playing it in new ways. The two ticker symbols are Dollar General, ticker symbol is DG, and the second one is Dollar Tree, ticker symbol is DLTR, ticker symbol is DLTR. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pop up the ticker symbol for Dollar General. Again, the ticker symbol for Dollar General is ticker symbol DG. And right now, as I record this clip tonight on, what's tonight, Monday night? Well, I record this clip on Monday, July 18th, right? So we always have context and transparency moving forward. The stock to start the year was about $230. Right now, as I record the clip, the stock is around $245. So looks like Dollar General is, give or take, it's up like, what, 5-10% for the year? Something like that, right? Not much. And again, zooming in on the stock chart here, I'm looking at the year-to-date for Dollar General. I'm looking at the year-to-date chart for Dollar General. What you'll see is the stock started off at $235. It came all the way down to $200, where I think it was way too cheap. And the reason it comes down back in early February, late January, from $230 all the way to $200 and takes that 15% pullback is because, oh my God, the Federal Reserve is going to start raising interest rates. Oh my God, the Federal Reserve is going to start raising interest rates. And then on top of that, you had a lot of geopolitical news. You know, we saw what happened with Russia, Ukraine. We saw what happened with China lockdowns. All of these things pretty much impact every single stock on the stock market to various degrees. But obviously, it pulls down everything with it, right? And then obviously it has a big old rally again just with the broader stock market. And late April 20th, it looks like it hits its peak for the year at $259 and change. It looks like the 52-week high was actually $262 intraday. But basically, the all-time high this year, the year-to-date high, was $260. And then again, just with the broader market, the China lockdowns happen, Russia, Ukraine gets worse, they keep bombing them harder and harder. Oh my gosh, are we going to start World War III? All of that shit just continues to pull everything down, everything down, everything down. Then, and this is where it gets really important, right? I want you guys to understand what's happening with Dollar General stock. Understand this shit. Learn this shit. May 16th, Dollar General, ticker symbol DG. May 16th was a huge day on the stock market because you see it on May 16th, the stock was $235. May 17th, $227, and then boom, May 18th, it goes down all the way down back to $200, and then May 20th, it goes down to $188. I mean, this thing free fell all the way down to like $183. So in a time span of basically 30 days, Dollar General stock went from $260 to damn near $160. Like, this stock almost fell $100 in less than 30 days. But what happened, General? What happened? I've talked about this before, but I'm going to say it again, right? Continuing to teach you guys what's going on Wall Street. What happened May 16th, 17th, that little point where everything just fell, like, again, the stock fell $100, it just cratered down to the ground. That was when Walmart and Target reported earnings. And when Walmart and Target reported earnings, everyone was expecting pretty decent earnings, because the consensus was, even in a higher interest rate environment, at the end of the day, people still have to buy food. At the end of the day, people still have to buy groceries. At the end of the day, people are always going to go to Walmart. And I agree with that, right? I even said it to begin the year. To begin the year, I said Walmart and Target and Costco, names like that, they're going to be defensive even if gas prices go up, even if with the China lockdowns, even with fucking COVID, even with this, that. Oh my gosh, what's going on in the White House? Oh my God, what's going on in Ukraine? Oh my gosh, what's going on with abortion laws? Oh my gosh, what's going on at the border? Oh my gosh, what's going on with Kim Kardashian? Like, at the end of the fucking day, everyone still has to fucking take their ass to raggedy ass, bitch ass Walmart, buy your fucking bread, buy your cheese, buy your ketchup, buy your mayonnaise, buy your eggs. You know, like, at the end of the day, everyone still has to buy groceries. Can we agree on that? Like, no matter what the fuck happens in Ukraine, what happens in China, what happens with this, what happens with that, what's going on with Elon and Twitter, what's Bill Gates doing, like, regardless of all this bullshit that the media continues to just like push out to take your attention, grab your attention. Ooh, look over here. Ooh, now look over there. Ooh, now look back over here. Ooh, now look over there. All this bullshit that's going on in the media, what's going on in society, who's going to win the Super Bowl, like all this shit that's going on in life that's really just nothing but a distraction from your actual life. You know what I mean? Like, all that shit that's going on. At the end of the day, certain things, certain essentials can't be changed. We still got to go to Walmart. We still got to pay the rent. We still got to pay the mortgage. We still got to do the car payment. We still got to pay credit cards, right? At the most basic essential level, I said, you know, companies like Walmart and Target and Costco, if we do end up going into an economic downturn, again, I believe we're going into an economic downturn. I started getting on the bear wagon, so to speak, in April. But again, hindsight's 2020, and we should have listened back in February and March when companies like Robinhood and Coinbase and Voyager were telling us that all their customers were leaving and they had no customers left that were using their app, and the only people who were left were rich people, but all the poor people left. We should have took that as a bigger red flag. I didn't, because again, at that time I was of the belief, with a lot of bulls, right, that says, oh, it doesn't matter if all the poor people leave. It doesn't matter if all the poor people leave. All the millionaires and billionaires are buying, bro, so we're going to keep going to the moon. We're going to keep going higher, right? Because again, to a certain degree, like at that time, I was like, that makes sense. Right? I don't give a fuck if Jose sells $100 of Amazon stock. Who gives a fuck? At the end of the day, Bob on Wall Street's buying 100 million of Amazon stock. So, you know what I mean? Like, I was of that belief as well. But it wasn't just that one little person sold. It wasn't just that two little people sold. It wasn't just that this little piggy went to the bank. It wasn't that that little piggy went to food stamps. It wasn't that that little piggy went to the swap meet. It was that all the little piggies fucking left and died. And again, this is what Voyager and Coinbase and Robinhood, this is what the management team of these companies were trying to fucking tell us back in February and March. But a lot of people like me didn't listen because we were like, no, it's okay, bro. We got the big money. That's all that matters, bro. Right? And to a certain degree, it made sense, right? If it was just a couple of poor people living. But again, it wasn't just a couple, 1, 2, or 3 little piggies that left. It was the entire fucking farm. Like, all the poor people left. And that should have been a big-ass red flag for us. We didn't catch it in time. Again, it became obvious to me in April once everything collapsed. And again, that was April, and early May, that's when we started to see credit card spending explode in this country. And to me, that was wave 2 of the recession. Wave 1 of the recession, again, hindsight's 2020, but wave 1 of the recession was probably February, March, right? And that's when retail investors / average Americans, not multimillionaires, not professional day traders, professional swing traders, people like Chamath and Kathy Woods and all these mutual fund managers. This isn't professional money managing billions of dollars in equity. No. We're talking about everyday American, casual retail investors. They started liquidating and emptying everything in their accounts. February, March. And yes, part of it was because of higher gas prices, part of it was because of higher food prices, and part of it was just higher inflation in general. And yes, part of it was because rents will continue to skyrocket across this fucking country. Rents will continue to skyrocket across this fucking country. And rents will continue to skyrocket across this fucking country. So it's basically a trifecta. Higher food costs, higher gas costs, higher rent costs. I mean, damn. It's already bad enough you deal with one of them. But when you're dealing with all three of them, year over year over year over year, that really fucking hits people hard, right? So again, February, March, when that happened, that should have been a bigger red flag to us. It wasn't. You know, it is what it is. But April, once that credit card spending started to explode, April, May, June, that was wave 2 right there. April and May, honestly, that was wave 2. And when you start seeing credit card spending to the degree that it was exploding, again, credit card spending wasn't going a little bit up. It was going through the motherfucking roof. And that tells you, like, damn. And the CEOs of MasterCard, Visa, Capital One, American Express, what did they tell us? We were like, where are they using all these credit cards? Are they just going to the strip club? They're going to the restaurant? They're going to the bar? They're going to Vegas to go get fucked up? Where are they spending these credit cards at? And the credit card companies were like, nah, bro, they're not spending it at Six Flags and no pinche Disneyland, no pinche Disneyland. No, they're spending it at Walmart and Costco and fucking Chevron and ExxonMobil. And then that's what really spooked people, because we were kind of like, hold on, what? They're using credit cards just to buy food and gas? I mean, that's kind of like, that seems a little bit extreme. That basically tell us they don't have enough money to buy the food and gas that they need on their debit card. So now they're turning into credit cards to finish paying for it. Like, that's kind of actually worse. If people are going to spend money on credit cards, an economist on Wall Street would make the argument that if Americans are going to use their credit cards, it's actually better if they spend it at Disneyland or Six Flags, because then what that tells us is they're using their actual checks, like their checking account and their salary. They're using that to buy food and gas and pay the bills. But to buy all that luxury shit, that's what they're using credit cards for. And so they're using credit cards to live above their means. So that's not necessarily bad. That's just stupid, right? Like, if you're using your credit cards to go out to places and to do things that you can't really afford to be doing it, but, you know, you're using credit cards as a means to do it, that's not necessarily bad. That's just stupid as fuck, right? But if you're using your credit cards to buy groceries and buy gas at the gas station and pay for all these, like, basic essentials, then what that tells us is that's actually bad, but it's smart. The reason it's smart is because what's your alternative? Not feeding your kids? Not paying the rent on time? Not making your car payment on time? Like, what's the alternative? Not providing for your family? So technically, if you're using credit cards to buy your kids food, or, you know what I mean, buy basic essentials like shampoo and conditioner and toothpaste and, you know, fucking toilet paper, diapers, formula. If that's what you're using your credit cards for, is buying formula for your baby, that's not stupid. That's smart. You're doing what you're supposed to do by any means necessary, right? But the reason that's bad is because that tells us that you're so tight on money that the only way you can buy your baby diapers and buy your baby some formula and buy your kids new shoes for school and buy them fucking a backpack and some paper and a notebook and pencils for back to school, and the only way you can buy fucking underwear, the only way you can buy shampoo is by using a credit card, that's bad. Because that's telling us things are so fucking tight, you don't have enough money, you don't make enough to buy all the essentials you need using your average wages, your normal salary, and you're having to use credit cards to offset the amount that you're short of. You see what I'm saying? So while that's smart that you're doing it, because it's better than not buying, you know, the things you need for your family. So it's smart that you have, you know, you're doing that. That's technically smart in my book, but it's bad because that's like, holy shit, you're hurting that much. You have to use a credit card to buy diapers. Like, that's fucking a red flag, like a motherfucker, if I've ever seen one. Now, again, if consumers are using credit cards, but they're only using it to go to Six Flags and Knott's Berry Farm and Wet and Wild, and they're going on vacation at Cancun, and, you know, they're doing shit like that, not too big of a deal. I mean, that's good because that means they make enough to buy everything else on their own. They're just using credit cards to live above their means, right? They have a higher standard of living than they really can afford. Which, again, that's not necessarily bad, because that means they're able to buy everything else on their own. It's just stupid as fuck. Not bad, just stupid as fuck. In this case, what we saw from the consumer April and May was they were using credit cards just to buy milk and eggs. You see, like, that's a fucking problem. Smart, but that's still a fucking problem, because that means the consumer is actually worse than in the other situation. So I hope you guys see my point there. And so I think that's the average American right there. I think that's where the average American is struggling. Again, inflation's at a 40-year high, and the only thing it does is continue to go higher and higher. Now, I want to hit on something real quick. There is a belief that, oh, but Miguel, commodity prices are going down. Looks like oil's coming down, lumber's going down, copper's going down. Like, a lot of commodities are going down, and people are saying things are going to start getting cheap again. And that's the reason the stock market is starting to rally now. The reason the stock market is starting to rally now is because those things are coming down. Again, the price of oil is coming down, the price of lumber is coming down, the price of copper is coming down. That is true. Those prices are coming down. Here's where the issue is, in my opinion. The issue is, even though some of those things are coming down, it's not coming down enough, right? And so there was a little debate on Wall Street, and I'm gonna play this clip for you. But the debate was basically, oh, gas is coming down, and then the other guy says, yeah, gas is coming down, but it's still not enough. It's not coming down enough for you to make it out this recession. So an example is, when gas was $3, people were still having a hard time living paycheck to paycheck. Then gas goes to like $7, $8, $9, depending what city you live in, right? I was in LA not too long ago, like 2-3 weeks ago. I was in LA, and gas was like $8, $9 out there in LA, right? So again, every city's different, but gas was $3, then it went all the way to like $8, $9. Now the administration's saying is like, look, gas is coming back down to $7 now. Well, that's great. It's not $8, $9 now. Now it's coming down to $7. That's great. But people were struggling when gas was fucking $3. So a gas at $7, technically, I mean, it's better, but it's not to an affordable level, so to speak, right? Like, it's still not where it needs to be, right? And then I know the bears will say, but Miguel, we're never going back to $3 gas. So the consumer is always going to struggle. The consumer is always going to be hurting. The consumer is always going to be fucked. Yeah, again, 80% of this country lives paycheck to paycheck. Like, I know when you guys go on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, you know, you see all these fucking little clowns and babosos out there making it look like they have this amazing life and everything's beautiful and rainbows and unicorns and they're living their life to the best. And oh my God, life is so awesome. And oh my God, my family's so perfect. And oh my gosh, you know what I mean? I'm so #blessed. Like, I know people always promote that shit until you actually know them in real life and you know their life fucking sucks and it's dog shit. They got all this drama going on. But, you know what I mean? I know that's what the perception is out there, that everyone's just living this, like, amazing, most bestest life ever, and you're the only one whose life sucks, which is not actually true. But again, the reality is 80% of all people in this country live paycheck to paycheck and barely have any money to survive. Like, it's true. Most Americans on a daily basis throughout the entire year have less than $300 in savings. You know, most Americans just don't have a lot of money. And even when they have money left over at the end of the month, it's not a lot. You know what I mean? Like, even on months where you try your best to, like, save as much money as you can, it's not like you're saving $5,000 a month. Most of you guys, even if you did everything you can to save as much money at the end of the month, you'll only save a couple $100. Like, and that's if you start, like, cutting back on everything, you'll only save a couple $100 at the end of the month. If that. You see my point? So the average American really is struggling from beginning to end. The problem is, right now, the average American isn't struggling. Right now is the average American is hurting. And when I say they're hurting, I mean they are getting fucking massacred. Because with inflation at 40-year highs, that means they barely had enough money to survive month after month before using old prices, what food used to cost, what gas used to be, what the rent once upon a time used to be. But now with these current rent prices continuing to skyrocket across the country, with these new food prices continuing to skyrocket across the country, and with these new gas prices coming down a little but not enough to really fucking matter, you see my point? Like, it's coming down a little bit, but it's still not enough. You see my point? And that's why most Americans, even though we're not, you know, quote unquote, technically in a recession, to them it feels like a fucking recession. because they just don't have enough, and that's why they sold. That's why they went on Robinhood. That's why they went on Coinbase. That's why they went on Voyager. They sold every fucking thing they had back February, March, liquidated their entire accounts, and then by the time we get to April, May, they don't have anything left to sell. So what do they start doing? Fuck it, start using the credit cards, right? And now they're using credit cards. So they buy as much stuff as they can with their regular paycheck, and then when that's not enough and they still need more gas, they still need more food, they still need more expensive, guess what they do? They pull out that American Express, they pull out that Capital One, they pull out the Visa, the MasterCard. They start pulling out every fucking credit card they got. They start going swipe, swipe, tap, tap. I'll try to figure it out later. But right now, my babies need diapers. Right now, my baby needs formula. Right now, my family needs food. Right now, we need somewhere to sleep at night. Right now, we need basic ass essentials. You know? So I know sometimes people will be like, oh, they're using too much credit card. It's going to take forever to pay off. The interest rates are really high. Okay, what's the fucking alternative? You let your kids go to sleep hungry at night? You see my point? This isn't about fucking what they should or shouldn't do. This is about what they have to fucking do. The problem is that I articulate on the podcast is over and over again, they're doing this now in April, May, and June, and July. What happens when we start doing official layoffs August, September, October? You see my point? When you start to get more engineers losing their jobs, you start to see more people losing their jobs and more people losing their jobs. What do I tell you? What's the problem with layoffs? Layoffs just don't affect the person that lost a job. It affects their entire family. Because now when your mom, your dad, your tío, your tía, your primo, your prima, when everyone in your family, one by one, starts getting their hours cut back, one by one starts losing their job, now everybody else is starting to see, okay, we're going to have to help them out, you know. I know things are hard for you, bro, but, you know, that's mom and dad, that's grandma and grandpa, that's, you know, that's our brother, that's our sister, we got to help them out. And now all of a sudden, even though you weren't planning to, now you got to give an extra $300 a month, an extra $400 a month, an extra $500 a month, because they're right. That is your mom. That is your dad. That is your brother. That is your sister. That is your G-ma. That is your grandpap. That is your tía, your tío, your titiri your titiri tío. That is your baby mama. Whatever the fucking case is, it really doesn't fucking matter. When people start hurting and they start telling you like, yo, I'm hurting right now, anything would fucking help, you know, I wouldn't ask you unless I really needed it. That's when it starts to impact everyone around them, not just the person who lost their job, not just the person who got their hours cut back at work. It impacts the entire family dynamics, the entire family household. It starts affecting immediate family, extended family, because now, as a society, we want to be good people. We start rallying around those that need us in times that they need us the most. And I'm not saying this is the wrong thing to do, but what I'm telling you is that's what's going to be asked of you. You guys see my point? That's again, part of the reason why 08, 09 was really hard. It wasn't just the fact that people lost their homes, they lost their 401ks, they lost their pensions. It was the fact that when they lost all those things, they turned to family around them to say, hey, can you help us get back on our feet? Hey, can we stay for you for a little while? Hey, can you spot us some money so I can get the kids something to eat? You know? Again, it just doesn't impact the ones that get hit directly. It impacts the entire family indirectly. And that's what's fucked up about layoffs. So again, sometimes people want to text me and email me and blow me up. Oh, Miguel, I got job security, Miguel. I work for the government. I work for the state. I work for the city. I work for the school district. Who gives a fuck? Does your mom? Does your dad? Does your brother? Does your sister? Does your son? Does your daughter? Does your grandson? Does your granddaughter? Your tía, your tío, your tía? And I know that's like a long list of relatives, but you guys get my point. If you really love someone, and their family, and they mean the world to you, and you wouldn't be where you are without them, are you really going to let them lose everything they have and watch them go into a homeless shelter and not have any food? Or are you going to be there way before that ever happens? You guys see my point here, right? So that's the fucking problem with layoffs. The more layoffs there are, it's not about how many people are affected. It's about how many families are affected. And that's where layoffs really fucking rock everyone. Because it's not just about you. It's about everyone around you. That's just if one person gets laid off. What happens when it's 2? What happens when it's 3? What happens when it's 4? What happens when it's 5? What happens when it's 6? You see how stupid and dumb this shit can get real fast, real fucking quick? You guys starting to catch on right now? So, again, I think of average Americans are going to feel it the most, because average American is that 80% of Americans that live what? paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean they're stupid. It doesn't mean that God doesn't love them. It doesn't mean that they were meant to live this way. It doesn't mean that, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean any of that shit. A lot of these people, 80% of Americans, they're good people. You know what I mean? They love their family, they love God, they love their country, they go to church, they pray, they take care of their kids, they try to raise their kids the right way, they bust their ass off every fucking day at work, even though their supervisor treats them like fucking shit, and they let their supervisors treat them like shit. Why? Because they really need that job, because they really care about providing for their family, so they put up with all the bullshit they have to do at work, and they do it year after year after year after year, because that's the only way they can provide means for their family, so they just put up with it. Right? Even though it stresses them the fuck out, even though it depresses them at times, even though it makes them feel suicidal at times, they put up with it and they deal with it because they're not doing it for themselves, they're doing it for their families. And a lot of these people are good fucking people. They get treated like shit. Society looks down upon them. Everyone makes them feel bad. Social media makes them feel even worse because they make them think that everyone's living their best life except them. Right? Again, not here to tell you the way the world should be, telling you the way the world motherfucking is. Right? And so these are really good people. You know what I mean? They're good, God-loving, country-loving, family-oriented, good fucking people. It doesn't mean they're stupid. Doesn't mean they're dumb. Doesn't mean that, you know, this is what they had coming to them and they deserve it and they need to work harder, Miguel. Fuck all that bullshit, man. These are good fucking people. But the problem is, for one reason or another, you know, they have a big family, they have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of debt, this, that, whatever the fucking reason is. Money's tight for them right now. And money was tight for them before the pandemic started. They were hurting before fucking this pandemic started, before COVID ever existed. So now, and let's just be honest, now there's no more boosted unemployment. There's no more stimulus check, unless you live in California and you're one of those fucking assholes. I can't believe they're doing that shit again. But whatever. Aside from the fucking dumbass government in California printing more money. Great job, guys. Great job. I can't believe that motherfucker's running for president. Whatever. Story for another day. But now that stimulus, for the most part, is over. No more stimulus. No more boosted unemployment. No more child tax credit. None of that shit. Now that all that shit's gone and inflation is at a 40-year high, and rents continue to skyrocket across the motherfucking country, all of a sudden they went from barely making it to, bruh, we ain't about to survive this motherfucker. Now it's getting hard. Now it's getting painful. Now we getting fucking crushed. Again, the biggest red flag, and I wish I saw it sooner. I fucking didn't, because I was in Camp Bull. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I paid more attention to it, but they fucking told us, man. Coinbase, the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Robinhood, the CEO of Voyager, they fucking told us, man. They told us back in February, March on the fucking earnings call. They said, guys, we just want you to know that nobody uses our fucking app anymore. All the little people are gone. But of course, the analyst, what's the first question they have? Ah, fuck them, bro. What's happening with the big guys? What's going on with the whales? Are the whales still using Robinhood? Are the whales still using Coinbase? Are the whales still buying the dip? Oh, yeah, the whales? Oh, yeah, these motherfuckers, they're good. They're chilling. They're posted up. But all the little people are gone, you know, so we just wanted people to know, like, all our big customers stayed, but all the little guys, 10,000 and less, they're gone, bro. I don't know why they're gone, but they're gone, bro. Well, oh, what a fucking surprise. Now we know why they left. Because fucking rent went up, gas went up, food went up, everything in their life went up except their fucking paycheck. Now we know why they fucking left. But back then we said, nah, as long as the big guns is here, as long as the whales are here, we're gonna be alright. We're gonna be alright. Yeah, well, 40% lower later, we're like, fuck, maybe we needed some of those little people. You know what I mean? Maybe all accounts do matter. Like now all of a sudden we're looking back like, fuck, maybe we need those little motherfuckers after all. Damn, how we get them little motherfuckers back now? Shit. You see my point? But again, April, that's when it was a red flag to me. That was wave 2. April, May, and even June, April, May, June, that's wave 2. That's credit card spending exploding out the fucking ass. And it wasn't just that credit card spending was exploding. It was the fact that they're using it to buy food and groceries. That's not bad. That's actually what they should be doing. That's smart. The reason it's bad is because, damn, they don't even make enough money to buy enough food. They don't make enough money to buy enough diapers. They don't make enough money to buy enough shampoo. They don't make enough money to buy, green eggs and ham. You know what I mean? I'm being funny, but you guys know what I mean. Like, it's hard. It went from barely making it to motherfucker, we ain't gonna survive this motherfucker. We ain't gonna survive this bitch. Now we already sold all our assets, the little bit of money we had on Shibu and Dogecoin and Cardano and Ethereum and Bitcoin. We sold that shit. Now we're using credit cards, but credit cards don't last forever. Eventually the credit card's gonna get maxed out. Then what are we gonna do? What happens when we got no more money on credit? What are we gonna do, bro? Shit. You guys see my point? You guys are seeing my point, right? By the way, what data points did we get in June, July? Oh, that's right. 8 million Americans were late paying their rent and didn't pay it on time. Some of them didn't pay their rent at all and now are on the cusp of getting evicted. Now we're going to start to see mass evictions across the country. No big deal. On top of that, we saw a huge surge in the amount of delinquency payments, not just in credit cards, surprise, surprise, but we're also seeing delinquencies across the country when it comes to auto loans. People aren't even paying their car payments right now. And the two companies that reported to seeing the most of delinquencies in auto loans was Ford and General Motors, GM. So Ford and GM, two of the most historic legacy companies in the automotive industry, are literally telling us to our fucking face that people aren't making their car payments on time, and some of them aren't making their car payments at all. Think about that. We're only in June, July, and people aren't paying their rent. They're not paying their credit cards. They're not paying their auto loans, and they barely have enough money for food and gas. And layoffs haven't even started? Damn, this shit's about to fucking get worse. But don't worry. Like I said, rich people gonna be alright. But rich people only make up 5-10% of the country. 80% of the country is the ones we're talking about right now. So what are those people going to do when things get from kind of bad to really bad to really, really fucking bad to motherfucking death row? What happens then? What's going to happen with these people? Now again, I hate to sound fucked up, because I hate to be out here saying we're going to make money off poor people. I hate to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that says, let's cash in on this shit. You know what I mean? Oh, the world's on fire. Let's go buy fucking fire. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy, right? But at the same time, look, I spend too much time in the stock market, 16 hours a day, from the moment I wake up to the moment I fall asleep to the motherfucking body drops on the living room floor. I'm spending 16 hours a day, over 100 hours a week, over 500 hours a month, every single day, day after day after day after day in stocks and crypto, looking at the economy, looking at different data points, looking at earnings call, looking at financial statements, looking at income sheets, looking at balance sheets, looking at this, that, the other. I spend too much time on this shit not to notice what's about to fucking happen. I really do. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but I see it clear as day, and I think it's incumbent upon me to tell you guys, look, this economy for the average American, okay, not the guy driving the fucking, the Maserati, or the guy driving around fucking Vegas in a Lambo, not the person in Beverly Hills driving a Rolls Royce, not the person driving in New York City tonight in a motherfucking Tesla with a penthouse suite, not those people. Those people don't even feel this shit. The only thing they're doing is buying the motherfucking dip, and they're taking this moment where poor people are forced to sell, and rich people are looking at shit like, shit, but give me that, give me that, give me that. I know it sounds fucked up, because when the stock market fully recovers, who are going to be the people that make the most money off this shit? It's going to be the rich people, because they were the only ones that had enough money to buy the dip. Everyone else had to sell everything to fight inflation. And I know that sounds really fucked up. Again, not here to tell you the way the world is, telling you the way the world fucking is. Excuse me. Not the way the world should be, the way the world fucking is. Anyways, so what do I think keeps happening? I've said this before with Dollar General and Dollar Tree. I think you're going to continue to see a mass migration there. Now, on their previous earnings call, and this is where I want to pop up the stock real quick again. Go back to Dollar General on the year-to-date chart. Year-to-date, Dollar General, this stock was, I want to say this was around May 25th. Yeah, May 25th. Look at the year-to-date. You guys see on May 25? May 25, the stock was $195. And then the next day, it went to $225. So basically, in one day, the stock went up 15%, and it never looked back. Again, May 25th is when they reported earnings after the stock market closed. May 25th, when the stock market closed, the stock was 195. The next morning, it opened up at 200 and almost 30. This stock fucking exploded like over 15% overnight. Why? Because when they came out on the earnings call, they said, oh my fucking God, there are so many people in our stores. Guys, we just want you to know we're making a lot of money right now. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, oh my gosh, I wonder what happened. But everyone's all of a sudden shopping at the 99-cent store. All of a sudden, everyone's shopping at Dollar Tree. All of a sudden, everyone's going to Dollar General. All of a sudden, everyone's going to the Dollar Center. Like, I wonder why. Oh, that's right. Because now all of a sudden, they're trying to find a way to buy the most amount of shit they can for the least amount of money. And the only thing in the world that's cheaper than Walmart is the 99-cent store. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. The only place on earth that's cheaper than Walmart is the 99-cent store. Now, do they have the best brands and the best merchandise and all this other bullshit? Hell no. But they got everything that's cheap as fuck. And for the most part, they kind of got everything you need. Like, if we're talking about basic essentials, they basically got everything you need. Shampoo, they got it. Conditioner, they got it. Hand soap, they got it. Dishwasher, they got it. Toilet paper, they got it. A little bit of basic groceries, they got it. Fruits and vegetables, technically they got it. You need some fucking beans, they got canned beans. You need shit to clean the fucking bathroom, they got that shit. Shit to clean the kitchen, they got that shit. You know what I mean? Like, for the most part, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, the 99-cent store, they might not have the best brands or the best products, but for the most part, they got everything you need. They have all the basic essentials. Toothpaste, they got it. Toothbrushes, they got it. Deodorant, they got it. Paper, they got it. Like, again, they don't have the best of the best. They don't have the best quality, but they have all the essentials you need. And I think that's where you're going to continue to see more Americans start to flock to. And again, on that earnings call on May 25th, Dollar General came out on earnings and said, yo, feels like everyone's coming in the store now. All of a sudden, everyone's going to Dollar Tree. All of a sudden, everyone's going to Dollar General. All of a sudden, the 99-cent store packed like a motherfucker. I wonder fucking why. Because the average American is fucking collapsing in front of our very eyes. You are watching the massacre of the lower income communities. You are watching them get destroyed right in front of us. And I'm not saying, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying this is good or this is okay or this is healthy economics. Fuck that shit. These are real Americans. These are real people. These are real families. But this is what they're going through right now. Things went from bad to worse to really fucking bad. And it happened fairly quickly. So to me, again, hate to be an asshole about it, but I think two companies that are absolutely going to explode on revenue from now until the end of the year. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I've given you like bearish data point after bearish data point after bearish data point after bearish data point, and the fucking layoffs haven't even started in a real way. They're not scheduled to happen until August, September, October. And the economy's already pulling back. Dollar General and Dollar Tree are going to explode for the rest of the year, and they're going to hit a new all-time high. My opinion, how high can they go? I told you guys I was looking at, I went back with my research team, and I went into Dollar General and Dollar Tree, and I went to go see how did they perform during the last recession. And obviously the most recent recession was 2008, 2009, which happened for completely different reasons than why the economy is slowing down right now. Back then it was because the housing market collapsed. In this case, it's because our entire government collapsed because they're all a bunch of fucking morons. But, you know, quote unquote higher interest rates, that's what we're going to say when we remember history. Not that all our politicians were fucking dumbasses. But the point being, during the great financial crisis, 08, 09, right? I went to go see how Dollar General and Dollar Tree stock performed. And you guys can do this on your own, and you can zoom in on the stocks, and you guys can do this on whatever website you want to. But basically go back to where was Dollar General and Dollar Tree 05, 06? Then what happened to their stock 07, 08, 09? and then what happened to their stock 2010, 2011, 2012. And basically that will allow you to see what was the stock like before the financial crisis, what was it like during the middle of the housing collapse, and then how did it react when the housing market started to recover and the stock market started to recover. And then by doing it that way, you can look at the before, the during, and the after. And during my analysis with my team, it was clear to us that it took about 2 years, but in 2 years, Dollar General and Dollar Tree basically doubled. Again, it took 2 years. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen over a weekend. It didn't happen in a month. It took about 2 years. But in about 2 years, the stock doubled. Both Dollar Tree and Dollar General. Took about 2 years, but they fucking doubled. Now, you're going to ask me, do you think, General, do you think it's going to happen again this time? Do you think over the next 2 years these stocks are going to double? My opinion is, I think these stocks are both going to go a lot higher. I'm not sure about a necessary double, but I think they go a lot fucking higher than they are here. But the second thing I would point out is, it's not going to take 2 years. I think these stocks are basically going to start rallying from now until the end of the year. And the reason is for 2 reasons. One, I think investors are smarter now than they were in 08, 09. And we have access to more information than we did back in 08, 09. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that nobody's using bitch-ass dial-up to do stock market research. The second thing is now we have Google that allows us to do market research easier than ever before. And the third thing is we have access to more economic data points now than ever before. So not only are investors smarter and able to react quicker to economic uptrends and downtrends, but on top of that, institutional investors are able to react faster to economic upturns and downtrends as well. So I don't think it's going to take as long to see a lot of money flood into these 2 stocks, and therefore it's not going to take necessarily 2 years for these stocks to quote-unquote double or go higher. It'll happen a lot sooner than that, because we are prepared for what to happen now, right? The second thing I would say is these companies are better companies now than there were before. And I think they're more set up for success now than they were before. And here's a couple of reasons why these companies are better prepared for this recession than they were the last recession, and why they're more set up for success this time around than last time around. The first one is they have more locations. Back in 2008, 2009, Dollar Tree and Dollar General had less than 1,000 locations, basically each around the country. Today, in the year 2022, these companies have like 10,000 locations across the country and around the world. Again, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, 99-cent store, they're not just in America, they're overseas as well. So not only do they have 5 times the locations today than they did 2008, 2009, but they're also more diversified in terms of markets. They're not just in American markets, they're also in international markets. So they have way more locations today than they did back then. So that's number one. Number 2 is, right, and this is like subsection here, right? So part 2 of number 2 is these companies are able to understand their consumer a lot easier than before. And I think this is part of the digital transformation that all businesses around the world have gone through. But they're basically able to understand what customers are buying the most, what customers need the most, and they're able to do it in real time. So the way things happen in 08, 09 is everyone would go into the store and buy everything they needed. And then at the end of the day, the end of the shift, at the close of business, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, the store manager would take an inventory check. And typically the inventory checks would last, they would do an inventory check, end of week, end of month, end of day. And they would basically manually write down everything that they have left, everything that they started with, and therefore do subtraction. They'll figure out how much of everything they sold. And then they basically did a cross-reference with all the cash registers to make sure that everything that they're missing was basically sold, not stolen. And then what they did is they manually uploaded those numbers and sent up to, not headquarters. They would send that to corporate. And then corporate would be like, okay, how much of this did you sell? How much of that did you sell? And everything was done manually. Everything was done through email. Everything was done through texting and phone calls. Now, 15 years later, that's not the way that shit's done at all. Everything is done in real time. So now some of these cash registers and these machines, a lot of times these store managers are able to take inventory, and they're able to do it a lot quicker than they used to do it 15 years ago. Companies are able to get those numbers faster than they did 15 years ago, and they're able to resupply and redistribute supplies a lot easier, more effective, more efficiently than they did 15 years ago. Right? Like logistics are a lot different today than they were 15 years ago. Warehouse management is a lot different today than it was 15 years ago. So now if something's not selling on the shelf, they don't just leave it there and see how long it takes to sell. They're able to like switch products, switch brands, add this, add that. They're able to do that more effectively and more efficiently. So these are just better ran companies than they were 15 years ago. So it's not just about more locations, but it's just about better management, both at the local store level all the way up to the upper management level. And yeah, a lot of that has to do with technology. A lot of that has to do with the cloud. A lot of that has to do with just software and shit like that. But nonetheless, these are better ran companies than they were 15 years ago. And then the third and last thing I would point out is, and I know this is going to trigger some of you guys, but I really don't give a fuck. It has to be said. We have more people living in America now than we did 15 years ago. And I know a lot of people want to say, yeah, Miguel, we got to fix the border. You know, all these fucking Mexicans coming over from Mexico, man, border man, da-da-da-da-da. All sort of bullshit. Look, regardless if, you know, how you feel about all that shit, immigration and the border and the dreamers or whatever the fuck your stance is on that, all I'm going to say is there's a lot more people living in America today than there were 15 years ago. Are a lot of people coming here illegally, week after week, day after day, month after month, year after year? Yeah, we all know it, right? Now, again, I'm not going to go too deep in this. Let's just say there's a lot more people living in America than there are back then in 2008, 2009. Whether they're coming here legally or illegally, it doesn't matter. They're fucking here now. And I know because I have like 150 subscribers who are coyotes in San Diego and Texas. And this is all they do for a living, is bring people across the border. And then when they're out there in the middle of the fucking desert in Texas or San Diego or somewhere in fucking Cali, like, what do they do when they're out there waiting for the people to show up? They're listening to my fucking podcast out there. So shout out to all the coyotes listening to me tonight, and, subscribe to the podcast and trying to invest in the stock market so you don't have to be out there in the middle of the fucking mountains anymore. Shout out to all the fucking coyotes listening to me. But with that being said, like, there's more and more people coming to America every single year. And it's not just from Mexico and Guatemala and Salvador and Ecuador. It's people from all over the world. People from all over the world are continuing to find ways to come to America and to live a better life and provide a better life, not just for themselves, but for their families. And that continues to happen day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. It just is what it is, whether you like it or not. It's fucking happening. And so the third and last point is we have a bigger population in America than we did 15 years ago. And so now it's like a trifecta of they have more locations, not just here in America, but around the world. But they also have more people in their biggest market, which is here in the U.S. And the companies ran more effectively and more efficiently than it was 15 years ago. So will the stock necessarily double in the next year, 12 months, 24 months? I'm not so sure about a double, but here's what I will say. I think the stock, and this goes to Dollar General, I think Dollar General finishes a minimum of over $300 by the end of the year. I think at a minimum, Dollar General is over $300 by the end of the year. And then we go to Dollar Tree. I think Dollar Tree is a minimum of over $200 by the end of the year. Now, I started jumping into Dollar General when it was around $240. And I started to jump into Dollar Tree when it was about $150. So that's kind of like my cost average on these two stocks. Dollar General, my cost average, or I guess my entry point really, is around $240. And then around $230 actually. Yeah, excuse me, it was $230. I'm looking at my thing right now. So my entry level into Dollar General was $230. And then my entry point into Dollar Tree was it $130? Yeah, it was $130. So that was my entry points into, $150. So that was my entry points. All right, $230 and $150. But again, I think Dollar Tree finishes the year above 200, and I think Dollar General finishes the year above 300. Now, I am putting new money into both of these stocks. How am I doing it? I'm doing it through options, and this is the options I'm doing. I'm basically buying call options. For those of you guys who understand how to do options, I'm basically doing call options. I'm buying in the money calls for those of you guys who understand what I'm talking about. I'm buying in the money calls on Dollar Tree. My in the money calls on Dollar Tree have a strike call of about $160. Yeah, it's about $160 is what the strike calls I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna buy the strike calls at 160, which means I am gonna pay a high premium on these call options because I'm already buying them, semi in the money already. They're in the money calls. So my strike price on the Dollar Tree options are for 160, and then my strike price on the call options for Dollar General are at 240. Okay, so both of them, 160 and 240, they're both in the money. Now, in terms of the time, what I'm doing is I'm buying the options for January, February, March, all the way to April. Now, let me make this clear. I don't want to buy any call options past April. The furthest I'm willing to go is April. So I am buying the call options for January, February, March, all that shit, but I'm not going past April. I want to make sure that all of them expire by April. Most of these I'm probably going to cash out either by the end of the year or early next year, January, February, March. But I do not, as it stands, plan to hold these after April. Now, why am I using April as the expiration date? Why don't I feel comfortable owning these stocks and these option calls past April? The reason is because I think the economy doesn't finish bottoming until probably January, February. But once it's done bottoming January, February, March, I think from there, by then, the Fed is one, going to be either forced to pivot, or two, most of the damage will be done. I don't think the damage is going to take that long to be done. I think most of the damage is going to be done in a short time period. Once the layoffs happen, August, September, October, I think November, December, you're just going to see a massacre everywhere. People are going to try their best to live off of loans and credit cards until they find a new job that provides them a similar income, if they're able to do it, and if they're able to do it in their current markets. And I think if they're not able to do it, I think you start to see the first cases of foreclosures in this country, and I don't think it's going to be a lot of them. I don't think you're going to see that many foreclosures at all. But the ones you do see, I think you'll start to see those January, February, March. What I more likely expect to see is people just sell their homes for a profit. So they're going to sell it before they ever get into foreclosure. You see my point? And because a lot of Americans already have built up equity in their homes, they're not necessarily selling their homes at a loss. They're actually quote unquote cashing out, but they're being forced to cash out because they're going to need that money to survive on if they're not able to find a replacement job in time and inflation doesn't come down significantly enough in time. You see what I'm saying? So again, even if gas is $6 6 months from now, that's still too high for some Americans. Even if the price of eggs, bacon, and tomatoes goes down 50 cents, that's still too high for many Americans. Even if rent prices continue to slow down in appreciation, current rent prices are already too high for many Americans. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's what you're going to see. I don't think you really see a bottom in the economy, so to speak, when it comes to the average American. I don't think you see a bottom probably happen till January, February, March. But when that happens, and then all of a sudden we bottom out and we swing to the upside, I want to make sure that I'm the first one to leave the party, not the last one that's there with all the fucking drunk, ugly, fat bitches. You see what I'm saying? I'm trying to leave early with the bad bitch. I'm not trying to stay there too long with the nasty, fat ass, gordita, nasty ass shit. No, I ain't trying to be there too long. You see what I'm saying? I'd rather be the first one to leave than the last one to be stuck there. You know what I mean? Trying to jump on a grenade. I ain't trying to do that shit. You know what I mean? I left the Marine Corps so I don't have to jump on grenades. So I'm not trying to be here for too long. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I think Dollar General and Dollar Tree will continue to explode to the upside from now until the end of the year. I think, again, going to Dollar General, I think it's a minimum of 300 by the end of the year. I think with Dollar Tree, it's a minimum of 200 by the end of the year. I think they're both relatively a lot higher than that by the end of the year, but I'm using very conservative price targets. Very conservative. I could easily see a case where Dollar General is like $3.50, and I could see a situation where Dollar Tree is $2.50. Like, I can see massive explosions to the upside. Because again, as the economy continues to get worse and worse, as layoffs continue to get worse and worse, and they impact more and more families, not just us individually, but impact our entire families, I could see situations where more and more people start to say, you know what, we need to make this money stretch. You know what I mean? You guys remember Friday? You guys remember Smokey? What is this? It's $1. It ain't enough. Make it enough. So when you only got $20, $30, $40, $50 and you got a kids at home and you got a family to support, sometimes going to Walmart isn't necessarily the best choice. Sometimes when you got to make that money stretch, when you got to make that money work, sometimes you're going to have to go to the 99-cent store. Sometimes you're going to have to go to the Dollar Tree. Sometimes you're going to have to go to the motherfucking Dollar General. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying this is, quote, healthy economics, right? Everyone likes to say it's healthy economics, but the only people who say that drive a Beamer, Benz, or Bentley and aren't actually going through it. It's always rich people that want to say it's not so bad, it's okay, it's going to be better one day. You know what I mean? But that's because they're not living in the hood. They're not living in the slums. They're not living in the barrio. They're not living in the streets. They're living in the penthouse suite, giving advice like it's not that bad. It's just softening. You know what I mean? It's always easy to say it's not that bad when you have the oceanfront property. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? That's just again, not here to tell you the way the world should be, telling you the way the world motherfucking is. So those are my two new, not necessarily new swing trades, but those are the two swing trades that I'm adding new money into, and that I'm doing it in new ways. I'm officially not only just owning the stock, I own both these stocks now, but I'm also buying call options in both of them. And again, I'm using the strike calls of about 240 and about 150. And I'm buying the expiration dates all the way until January, February, March. And then April's the latest I'll go. And I'm just buying all that shit right now. I'm just stacking them. Because as I continue to get more data points and I continue to see what's going on in the economy more and more, again, is it true that commodity prices are coming down? Is it true that gas prices are coming down? Is it true that lumber prices is coming down? Is it true that copper prices are coming down? Yeah, all that's true. But one, it's not coming down enough. And two, the only reason it's coming down is because demand is coming down. And if demand is coming down, that tells you that some of these small businesses, again, not the large ones, but some of these small ones are starting to fucking break. Some of these small ones are starting to fucking crack. Some of these small ones are starting to go out of business. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all part of the waves of the recession. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here to tell you that this is going to be okay and this is all going to work out. Some of you are going to continue to go through financial and economic pain, because it's always easy for me to sit out here and tell you to buy the dip and don't be a bitch. But that only sounds cool if you keep your job and your wife doesn't get her hours cut back at work. But the moment that it's you that gets affected by layoffs, the moment it's you that loses their job, the moment it's you that gets their hours cut back at work, now all of a sudden it's a whole different ball game. And now all of a sudden you're not in buy the dip mode. Now all of a sudden you're in survival mode. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys, keep pulling the trigger, keep unloading the cannons. What I'm going to tell you guys is keep being fucking ready. If you got the money and you got the funds and you got the ammo, you better be pulling that motherfucking trigger. You better not fucking let me catch you outside on Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat, hanging out with your burnt-ass homies, drinking cheap-ass fucking beer, smoking dirty-ass fucking weed, hanging out with busted-ass hoes. What you better be doing is setting up your financial future. What you better be doing is setting up your long-term goals. What you better be doing is thinking about the future you and looking at where you were 5 years ago and where you want to be 5 years from now. What you better be doing is thinking about the long term. Ladies and gentlemen, this recession is going to continue to get worse for the average American. And when we make it out on the other side, yeah, are people going to become millionaires? Absolutely. Are people going to go multi? Abso-motherfucking-lutely. But at the end of the day, the only people that are going to inherit the earth are who? The disciplined and the patient. The rest of you guys are going to wake up 5 years from now, working your same fucking busted ass job with your same bitch ass supervisor, still working on your hands and fucking knees, wondering 5 years ago why you didn't buy the motherfucking dip when the general told you every fucking night what you had to do in order to reach financial freedom and financial independence. You don't believe me? Look at everyone in your life. Look at all your friends. Look at all your homies. Look at all your coworkers. Look at all your fucking tios. Look at all your fucking tias. Look at every fucking person in your life. And look at where they were 5 years ago. And look at where they are now. Most of them haven't changed. Most of them haven't progressed. Most of them aren't going fucking nowhere. And 5 years from now, they're going to be in the same fucking place in life. Why? Because they refuse to fucking change and they refuse to fucking listen. Now, this is your choice. What the fuck are you going to do? Are you going to stand on the sidelines and continue to be the broke bitch you've been your entire fucking life? Or are you going to grab your fucking balls, grab your fucking AK, and pull the motherfucking trigger? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for listening to the one, the only, the motherfucking General, Magallon Entertainment!
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want them pull up, head spin, get fly. I got 6 jobs. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get fly. I got 6 jobs. I don't get full-time father, full-time artist. Ex-guard, he said grind harder, learn from every time you ever fail. If it never failed, just grind smarter. Iron sharpen, you the dag on their hindquarters and they all acting. Rap game, I'm a pallbearer. Kill me, get a call after. First look, it was all laughter. Kevin Gates, no small matter, made men believe when they didn't believe. Dive in the crowd, no safety holders. Got in the booth, no safety on it. I aim and I shoot for the star. That thing award, I ain't win no awards. Only meaning one thing, don't get tired, I go hard. I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want them pull up, head spin, get fly. I got 6 jobs. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get fly. I got 6 jobs. I don't get the woman I love on an air mattress. We share a car, my hair never couldn't afford flights, no air travel. Feel Rice Krispies like sand gravel. Walking testament of what can happen the moment you follow your heart. Keeping the faith even when it get dark. They could give up as I tell them get lost. 6 years ago I just purchased a farm. Most likely the one that you cannot afford. Right foot on the gas. Well, it's the I could be accelerating. I'm doing the dance. She said I'm with. Shawty be doing her shit and it's okay to say that she bad. Look to the right and I give her a glance. We don't get ready to be no great. I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want them pull up, head spin, get fly. I got 6 jobs. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get fly. I got 6 jobs. I don't get tired.
Only meaning one thing, don't get tired, I go hard. Don't play with the hustle, you eat or you starve. Don't mimic, pretend to just be who you are. I ain't never changed, been like this from the start. Only meaning one thing, don't get tired, I go hard. Don't play with the hustle, you eat or you starve. Don't mimic, pretend to just be who you are.
Get fly. I got 6 jobs. I don't get tired. I was